Belmont High School, built in 1970, no longer serves the needs of our community. The building does not meet code requirements or educational standards as regulated by NEASC, the New England Association of Schools and Colleges. It cited the school's aging infrastructure for not providing adequate space and facilities needed for instruction. Back in 2004, NEASC determined that the building's mechanical and electrical systems needed attention, and conditions have not improved in the last 14 years. On top of that, the building is simply too small. A continuous influx of new students has caused overcrowding at every Belmont school. District enrollment has increased an average of 105 students each year for the last 6 years, and this trend shows no sign of letting up. In addition, the way we teach our students and the environment in which they learn the skills they need for college and career has radically changed in the 50 years since BHS opened its doors. 21st century educational standards and expectations require real-world problem-solving skills and collaboration. School spaces need to be flexible and adaptable to adequately meet the needs of the community for the next half-century.
We went from a 3,400 school district to almost a 5,000 school district. We're roughly hitting that top third or maybe even top 20% of enrollment in the state of Massachusetts. We have modulars at the high school. We are already using rooms and spaces that were not normally classroom spaces to support children in instructional periods of time. So we have exceeded the footprint at every level. Our chorus and our band practice in the old auto shop. They have garage doors as a wall. The acoustics, the quality of space and sound is really not appropriate for the high quality music program that we have.
We've had some chairs removed to try to create some spacing to make it a more collaborative environment. If I do any project-based learning or collaboration, if we have a student that comes in that has any type of disability, maybe they're in a wheelchair, there really isn't a space for them to come into the room. It's not very welcoming to them. They have to stay down on the bottom level. It's not meeting the needs of our students right now.
Belmont High School is not ADA compliant. The elevator is too small for a motorized wheelchair, so students with limited mobility cannot access the second floor where the foreign language, math, and science departments are housed. They are accommodated by relocating entire classrooms to wheelchair-accessible spaces on the first floor. This is not the inclusive environment we want for our children. The BHS building has been well maintained, but it's heavily used. Signs of severe wear and tear are certainly evident. Major building systems have reached the end of their design life expectancy, and the infrastructure problems affect the day-to-day operation. Many windows leak every time it rains, and there's evidence of water damage throughout. Leaking faucets from the science labs on the second floor damage the classrooms below, and aging plumbing has caused temporary closures of multiple bathrooms, in one case forcing the evacuation of the entire building. Overcrowding is evident throughout. Walk through the halls and you will see students filling every open space. They work and socialize on benches outside of classrooms, on stairways between floors, and on the floors outside bathrooms and classrooms. They are desperate to find places to work, either alone or together. The high school no longer has the space to support the current students and is not big enough for the larger classes rising throughout the school system.
I have quite a few of the triangle desks throughout the room. Unfortunately, they're quite tight, so once kids are kind of working on group work, I have to send them over into the lab area. I actually don't even have enough desks for students in here. Not having enough space really comes into play when we're doing chemistry labs because safety is like such a big issue for us. So when you have kids overcrowded in the lab area and they're lighting Bunsen burners, it can get kind of scary. It's almost near impossible for students to be able to get to the safety equipment. Some of our safety equipment is non-functioning. So for example, we have 2 chemical fume hoods that do not work. And so getting around the room, getting to students is a problem, but specifically for science, it's a safety thing.
The library holds 400 to 500 students at a time, but it is often at capacity with a line waiting to enter.
If you can look around the space, you see that there's not very many books. It doesn't look like a traditional library, and that's because space for students was made as a priority over resources. There are often 2 or 3 chairs pulled up to each study carrel, so it isn't individual work. And because of space issues, even in the bookshelves, there are desks, and groups of kids will crowd in here as well. I have kids come up to me all the time and say, Miss Landry, it's too loud to work in here, which is slightly ironic because it is the school library.
The cafeteria was designed to feed 460 students at a time. Today, it must accommodate 700 or more during some lunch periods. Many don't bother entering the cafeteria at all, knowing they won't find a space to sit. The way that we educate our children has changed in the last 50 years, but the building hasn't. Gone are the days of classrooms with desks in rows with a teacher lecturing at the front of the room. Enter a classroom today and you might find a circle of students in a discussion, or clusters working in teams. This type of collaborative learning requires space, sadly lacking in many cases.
So the little theater space that we're standing in now is currently used as a classroom space. It's used as a performance space. It's used as a study hall and lecture space, and it's used as a community meeting and gathering space. And it actually serves none of those 4 purposes well. In the theater program, we put 200 kids a year do something on that stage, and so the limitations of backstage space, of what the current technology allows, concerts and transitions for when the music department uses that space, it also then doesn't serve that need as well as it could. So what we are missing in performing arts is spaces that do multiple things and do those multiple things well. Our programs are absolutely overreaching the current facility we have.
Every possible space within the high school is being utilized. Student needs have changed, and the building has been adapted as much as possible, but it's simply not enough.
I've had students who were working, creating audio projects for a history class, and they couldn't create the audio projects because the other students were so cramped in together in this little space. So then students tried to go in the hallway to do it. They couldn't do it there because teachers from another classroom were also doing another group project in which students were working on something else, so they were all together, so they couldn't record there. That's obviously not the kind of instruction that we want for the kids.
Belmont is fortunate. After 10 years of applying, Belmont High was finally chosen for a grant through the MSBA, the Massachusetts School Building Authority. The state has recognized the critical condition at Belmont High School and has deemed it a top funding priority. Under the MSBA, the town will receive a large grant toward the construction of a new 7 through 12 school that will support our goal of maintaining superior education.
And this building program would be essential to remedying those real big challenges of space, appropriate educational space, enrollment. And not only do the spaces that we have right now not fit today's needs for students and teachers, they definitely don't fit the needs of what our future students and future teachers want to do in their classrooms each day.
The Belmont High School building has become an impediment to learning. Every day, students feel the impact of overcrowding, of inflexible learning spaces, and of an aging infrastructure. Both the Massachusetts School Accreditation Agency and the MSBA have determined that the building can no longer provide an appropriate environment for today's educational standards. The decision on whether to take the state grant and build a new school will be made by Belmont's residents in November of 2018.